What's going on, ma'am?
I'm dying, that's what's up.
Irving Fire Department.
Ma'am, are you still there? Ma'am, are you still there? All I've got is she's telling me she's dying. I've got a, why are you still there, ma'am? Ma'am, what is your address? Ma'am.
The cab in our cab stand, it doesn't appear that there's a driver, but there are two people inside the cab, one in the passenger seat and one in the rear of the vehicle. One of the people in the passenger seat looks like she's hunched over, and she has blood coming from her ear. It doesn't look like they're alive to me.
I understand that. We've got our officers en route.
On January 1st, 2008, Sarah and Amina Said were killed by their father. He shot them multiple times, taking the ultimate control on their lives. He decided when they were going to die. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel where we talk about real crimes and real people. This is the murder of Sarah and Amina Said. Want to know what happened? Let's get started. Sarah and Amina Said were born in 1989 and 1990 in Texas. They had two older siblings, a sister who was born in 1987 their father had with another woman, and Islam Said born in 1988. Their mother was Patricia Owens. Patricia married their father Yaser Said in 1987. Yaser was 30 years old, Patricia only 15. Sarah Said was described as reserved, kind of a tomboy who cared a lot about school. Amina Said was described as a social butterfly, very outspoken. She wanted to go to college and be a doctor. The two girls were well-mannered, pretty, smart, and they were popular in school. Sarah and Amina were raised Muslim like their father, and their father was very strict in following Muslim traditions. He controlled what women did. His son Islam could do anything he wanted. From early on, there were some serious allegations against Yaser Said on how he treated Sarah and Amina. In 1998, when Sarah and Amina were only 9 and 8 years old, they told their grandmother Yaser had abused them. Later that year, Yaser Said was indicted for abuse of his daughters. However, Sarah and Amina recanted and said they had made it up. Without their statements, the case was dropped. Patricia, the girl's mother, later stated she believed Yaser convinced the girls to change their minds. But Patricia's mother, sister and aunt were convinced Yaser had indeed abused his daughters. But Amina, Sarah, and Patricia returned to Yaser. Sarah and Amina's teen years didn't get better. Yaser's controlling ways got worse. Sarah and Amina lived in fear. Yaser spied on the girls using video or recording devices without their knowledge, so he could keep tabs on their activities, including putting a recorder in Amina's car. Amina was afraid of using public telephone. Sarah and Amina believed their father would kill them. They knew he would. It was only a matter of time. At the age of 16, Amina was taken to Egypt for an arranged marriage. Amina rejected it. Yaser wasn't happy about it. Yaser's controlling ways and possessive mania went so deep to the point he didn't like his daughters smiling to strangers. Sarah got a job at a convenience store. As expected, Yaser was on full-blown surveillance, filming Sarah while at work. A simple smile to a customer would bring Yaser to the edge, and he decided she needed to be punished. Sarah and Amina weren't allowed to have boyfriends. Yaser owned them. He decided who and when would get access to his daughters. But the girls had boyfriends in secret, and once he found out about Amina's relationship, he snapped. Amina met Joseph Moreno Taekwondo classes. The two started as friends, but soon it turned romantic, a secret romance. They wrote notes to each other. They were also best friends who dated for 4 years until that fateful day death did them apart. Amina used a different phone to talk to Moreno. Everything was hush-hush. She believed her father would be watching her every time she met Jojo. She was afraid he would see the text messages between the two of them. Yaser eventually found a note Amina had written to Jojo. When Yaser confronted Amina, she stated the note was for an imaginary boyfriend. But he didn't believe her. He was losing grip. He was losing control. So he kept on searching to uncover the relationship. Eventually, to remove Jojo out of the way, Yaser moved the family to Louisville, Texas. Amina was miserable. She made plans to run away, get married in Vegas, and start a new life. Jojo dropped out of school to earn money. Amina would get death threats regularly. She knew she was going to die and thought about ending her life using her father's gun. Amina was afraid Yaser would kill Jojo, but Amina refused to give up his name, even if she was being brutally beaten. On December 21st, 2007, Amina emailed her history teacher saying her father made their lives a nightmare and she and her sister wanted to run away. Christmas 2007, after being threatened with a gun, Amina, Sarah, and their mother, Patricia, ran away to Tulsa, Oklahoma. They were going to start a new life away from Yaser. Eventually, Yaser was able to get in touch with Patricia and convinced her to return. She needed to convince Amina and Sarah too. Patricia told the girls allegedly she wanted to put flowers on her mother's grave. She managed to convince Sarah. Amina refused and went to a friend's house. Eventually, Patricia convinced Amina to go back home, saying they wouldn't be staying with Yaser. She lied. On January 1st, 2008, Yaser told Amina and Sarah he wanted to take them out to eat to solve their issues. Patricia wanted to go as well, but Yaser told her he wanted to talk to the girls. He drove Amina and Sarah to Irving in his taxi. He got out of the car. He shot Amina twice. She died instantly. He shot Sarah 9 times, and then he left them to die. Sarah managed to call 911 to name her killer. Then she died. A cab driver found a taxi outside the service entrance of the Omni Mandalay Hotel. He called the police and told them about the gruesome finding. Yaser Said fled and disappeared. Some believed he had fled to his native Egypt. Patricia divorced him in 2009. On December 4, 2014, he was added to the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives with a $100,000 reward. Yaser Said was on the run for 12 years. Yaser Abdel Said was born on January 27, 1957 in Sinai, Egypt, and was raised in a strict traditional Islamic household. In 1983, Yaser entered the U.S. with a student visa. In 1987, while working at a convenience store, Yaser met 15-year-old Patricia Owens. After a few weeks, he decided he wanted to marry her, and he convinced Patricia's parents he would provide for young Patricia and give her a comfortable life. Despite Patricia's young age, her parents approved, but Yaser didn't fulfill his promises. Yaser wasn't able to provide for the family. Patricia had to work full-time. Yaser was a taxi driver who hardly worked. He was abusive, controlling, and possessive. He didn't allow Patricia to talk to her family unless he was present, and he threatened to hurt her children if she said anything. At just 18 years old, Patricia was already a mother of 3. In 1997, Yaser Said gained U.S. citizenship. Yaser didn't like his daughters dating American boys. He was obsessed with possession and control. The goal was to sell the girls to an arranged marriage with a much older man. When Amina rejected the proposal, he was furious and turned violent. He was upset their daughters followed a Western lifestyle. After learning about the American boyfriends the girls had, he decided Sarah and Amina had dishonored the family because they didn't want to follow a traditional Islamic cultural behavior. So he lured them to their death. For Yaser, it was an honor killing. For many, it was about control. possession, and Yaser's creepy behavior towards the girls. While Yaser was on the run, there were several sightings. In August 2017, a maintenance worker at an apartment complex in Bedford, Texas, recognized Yaser. Yaser had been staying at his son's rented apartment. The worker called the authorities. A detective showed a picture, and the maintenance worker stated the man in the picture was the same man staying at the apartment. Islam Said was interviewed but refused to cooperate, and he was upset. A search warrant was issued. Inside the apartment, they found it empty. A sliding door was open. Below the patio, they noticed a shrub with broken branches. They found a pair of glasses. Inside the apartment, they found cigarette butts and a toothbrush. DNA results showed the DNA on the items they found was most likely from Sarah and Amina's biological father, but still, they weren't able to catch Yaser. Even though authorities still hadn't caught Yaser, they suspected Islam, Yaser's son, and Yasin, Yaser's brother, knew where he was. So they had them on surveillance. In August 2020, authorities observed Islam and Yasin entering and exiting a house. When the two men weren't inside, they noticed the shadow of a man. Authorities obtained a search warrant, and in August 2020, after 12 years on the run, Yaser Said was arrested. His son Islam and his brother Yasin were also arrested. Yaser Said was charged with capital murder. Islam and Yasin Said were charged with concealing a person from arrest. Yaser Said's trial started on August 2, 2022. Patricia testified. She stated Yaser was a devil. He cheated on her multiple times. He was controlling and abusive. She and her daughters tried to leave several times but returned out of fear. Yaser also testified. He stated he wasn't present during the murders. He thought someone was stalking him and wanted to murder him. So he left the taxi and fled to a wooded area, leaving the girls behind. After learning about the death of the girls, he didn't turn himself in because he thought he wouldn't face a fair trial. Yaser Abdel Said was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. In January 2021, Islam Said pled guilty to harboring a fugitive, conspiring to harbor a fugitive, and conspiracy to obstruct justice. He was sentenced to 10 years. In February 2021, Yasin Said was found guilty of conspiracy and harboring a fugitive and was sentenced to 12 years. He stated he hated his brother for what he had done. If he had known, he wouldn't help him. Yaser was on the run for 12 years. Yasin was helping him, so he knew. Even though Patricia stated Yaser was the one convincing the girl not to follow with the complaint about the abuse allegations, Amina told family members Yaser and Patricia forced them to recant to keep Yaser out of jail, and the abuse continued. Many home videos showed inappropriate comments with sexual undertones from Yaser towards his daughters. Patricia's sister believes Patricia misled Sarah and Amina to return home. Text messages from Amina showed Patricia had tricked them and she was afraid. Patricia deceived them and led them to death. It was obvious Yaser was obsessed with young girls. Patricia was a victim, but thus she shares some accountability for the girls' ongoing abuse from their father and also their death.